So there I was, just minding my own business, when Jack told me to show you the absolute gruel that she has to eat for dinner. I want to start with a few casual disclaimers because people see Jack walking around naked and assume that I feed her rocks. I'm not a parrot nutritionist and chop ingredients vary throughout the week. The first thing I do is throw all of my fresh ingredients out, cut them and chop them up and put them in a bowl to be washed off. Jack loves to help, even when she's in a really bad mood. She kindly took an apple out of the bag for me because she is just that selfless. She was like, "Lady Mother, of course I will help." I think she said that. Apple seeds must be removed because they contain cyanide and nobody wants their bird to eat cyanide, so make sure you take these out. I found a baby bell pepper inside the lady mother pepper, and so I gave it to Jack, and she is a curious ladybird, so she took it. But when she realised it was a baby, she dropped it onto the floor. Because the only thing worse than vegetables are babies. Next up is some chilies. This is a newish chop ingredient for the birds, so I try and go steady with it. Parrot taste buds are fine with spicy food. I'm going steady with it for myself because Yoshi likes to come along and give me a surprise lick on the eyeball every now and again, and it can be quite uncomfortable. Next up, fresh cherries. Jack usually loves these, but this one looked at her funny and so she bit me. You have to remove the pits in the cherries, of course. I add some fresh raw carrot. I also save a couple of large chunks for the birds to enjoy later because they like shredding carrot and it's a bit of enrichment for them. It's also some enrichment for me because I have to try and flick it off the ceiling with 2 coat hangers tied together. Next up, I add some fresh beetroot and some grapes. Beetroot is a new food for Jack and Yoshi, and Jack is still quite wary of it. I like to add broccoli sprinkles to chop because it's quite difficult for them to avoid it. And this is my pellet mix for blending. It contains 4 dry ingredients, 2 types of Harrison's pellets, nutriberries and Lafeber pellets. The only way I can get Jack to eat pellets is if Jack doesn't know that she's eating pellets, and the only way I can get Yoshi to eat Harrison's pellets and not just Lafeber is if the pellets are blended with Lafeber in his chop. Because the pellets turn into such a fine powder, I can actually get quite a good amount into Jack. Because I'm not the smartest pot in the pan cupboard, I tried to show Jack a piece of broccoli. I thought she might take a nibble. She kindly told me that she didn't want it and asked me if I had lost my damn mind. She said the only time she would eat a piece of raw broccoli would be at Yoshi's funeral. Eating a food similar to him and then shitting it out would bring joy and comfort to her. We've also got some quinoa in this chop, which I never thought we'd be eating, but Jack and Yoshi both love it. And Jack said it reminds her of small snail eggs, and crushing them in her beak is a very relaxing pastime. Jack said Yoshi would eat anything if it had sugar on it, even shit. And to be honest, he probably wouldn't even need the sugar. And next up, everyone kisses the egg goodbye. It's our little ritual to make sure Jack doesn't end up laying any, which is always a horrible and anxious time with lots of fear and vet visits. Parrots are notoriously difficult, especially the second-hand ones that were on seed diets for years before people did more research. So you'll see some things in this chop that you might not put in your chop, but I put them in there because it means that Jack eats her chop. She went from no vegetables and no pellets to eating both vegetables and pellets. I put a little bit of everything in the hand chopper and blend it all up really, really small so that they find it difficult to pick out the bits they don't like. This is Jack's favourite part because it is really loud and violent, which are her 2 favourite things in the world. And Yoshi tries to be supportive, but Jack says that Yoshi always takes the coward's way out. Remember, in this house, the chop chooses the parrot. As long as you try your best to work with your parrot's little ways, then you're doing a really good job. It took me a very long time to get Jack to where she is now, so don't give up if it's difficult. One of the best feelings in the world is knowing you changed something in your parrot's life for the better. Ah, she's so helpful. This is what it looks like after we've been very loud and violent with it. And Yoshi always likes to taste test, and he said it was really nice. Thanks, Mum. I offered Jack a bit, and even though she watched me put all sorts of green things in it, she hoovered it up and told me it will do. She told me to put some more in her beak before she turns me into chop, and so I did as I was asked. Jack doesn't like to play around. It's very easy to limit Yoshi's egg intake, but for Jack, I do always have to have some form of egg in her chop because otherwise she will not eat it. Egg is probably the only reason that Jack eats it. Jack was really enjoying her chop until she accidentally tried to bite me by accident, but it was probably on purpose. And then dinner time. I put Yoshi away for a few minutes so I can try and calm Jack down and pick her up. The nature of African greys is this: if they decide they want to bite you, they will, and it really hurts. And this is my method. I could very well get my lip torn off, but I just go up, I give her a kiss, and I ask her what's wrong, and hopefully by then she calms down. As you can see, she did. Much like that movie about a magic boy that runs off with an enormous hairy man and his magic stick in the middle of the night, the magic stick chooses the wizard, just like the chop chooses the parrot.